Afternoon, folks. And I just saw the Larian Studios or Stadia stream, whatever you called that thing, where the creator was running through the intro to the game, I think. And they showed the big pre rendered cutscene of a bunch of people getting abducted by the mind flayers and they get injected with this weird tadpole in their eyeball. And now they're telepathic, and then they crash land and they'll have to run around trying to survive and figure out how to get this thing out of their bodies. So it was an alpha build, so there's bound to be lots of bugs and unbalanced elements, and that was fine. But it was certainly turn-based, and it looked like another version of Divine Divinity 3, I guess you can call it. It's a bit smoother, but it's still turn-based, and it's essentially not Baldur's Gate. At least it didn't feel like Baldur's Gate to me. It looked completely different, which is arguably a good thing because it's a new engine. So that's the point. So it starts out with this crazy cinematic of this evil dude who captured everyone and started teleporting, kind of like the collectors from Mass Effect 2. Just started magically collecting people from this town that were just running around, and these giant eldritch tentacle things just started tapping people and magically teleporting them to these cells so they can be implanted in this flying ship. And then these teleporting dragons come in and start attacking the ship. The ship teleports elsewhere, and until continuing until the ship crash lands, and that's where your story begins. So let's just keep going here. Where's the part I want to talk about? Not the origin story. Well, this is kind of cool. They talked about class. Like this dude over here was a vampire underling, but he was basically a vampire, and he was walking around in the sunlight without any problems, which was odd. But what's cool about it is that the stories are tied into your class. So your dialogue options are all about class, apparently, which is cool. Always a good thing to have player choices at the beginning of your story impact all the choices you make, or at least have some response. That is good. This is interesting how they described the Baldur's Gate plot, or the predicament that the main character was in. He likens the parasite to the Ballspawn legacy from the earlier games. It's a power that can be tapped, but it comes from a dangerous source. Every single time that you use it, you give into it. And as you give into it, things start happening when you encounter other people with tadpoles, and you might not be so resistant. Eventually, you'll find mind flayers, and if you use the tadpole, you might find that it's really hard. Interesting. So a different relationship with the mind flayers. Of course, we have a huge history with the mind flayers in the Githyanki. So cool stuff. That's all good storytelling stuff, and perhaps gameplay stuff as well. So conflict in Baldur's Gate 3 stems from conversations just as much as combat. Cool. Using the D&D system, all these dice rolls, that's fine. So this is where I have a bit of an issue in their explanation to run with turn-based. Not that turn-based is good or bad, it's just a system. His explanation is where I have the problem. So I'm critical of real-time with pause because I think it looks messy. Okay. To me, that means you're not pausing enough and you don't know how to play a real-time with pause game. But, I've played a lot of real-time with pause games as well as turn-based games. It's like a miss pause, give 3 orders, a miss pause. That's funny because that's how I would describe Divinity games. Miss turn, give 3 orders, miss turn. You see, it's really the same thing. You're still using dice rolls. So it doesn't matter if it's happening in real time or real time with pause or happening with turn-based. It's the same argument. And if you actually watch the demo, you could actually just move all your turns with one guy and give multiple orders. So the only difference is it's really slow. And people move around on a map like you're playing a game of chess with the universe, which is silly. It says senior designer Edouard Imbert. Also, I don't believe that sticking to the old system can expand to a greater audience. Now, here's another huge problem. The original audience of Baldur's Gate played a real-time with pause game. I don't know why they're targeting a greater audience. Yes, that's good for marketing. You want to sell your game to a bigger audience, but you have to understand your audience. For example, let's say you have an IP or a license that uses a real-time with pause engine, and you want to hit a larger audience. You don't just change that gameplay style and assume you're going to hit a larger audience unless you know what that larger audience is and why you're doing it. For example, let's choose XCOM. Here's a very popular turn-based game. I love XCOM. I thought XCOM 2 War of the Chosen was one of the best expansions or DLCs I played. And if you want to target those people, great. What do? Well, what's great about XCOM? It's the cover system they invented, the mystery, the horror aspect. That when you turn your body a certain way, you get more vision, and boom, there's an alien right next to you. That's cool. That could have worked really great with the Mind Flayer, Eldritch Terror, maybe a sneaking vision system. That would have worked great. It'd be, hey, cool. It's like playing XCOM, but you're in D&D, and it's a Baldur's Gate title. I would have totally been sold on that. But they didn't do that. At least I haven't seen it. They do have a sneaking system. They were showing the vampire dude sneaking around, but it didn't really do anything for me. Just like, oh, it's just normal sneaking, which is fine. But again, you're not targeting the right audience. As well, if you want to expand your audience, turn-based RPG is very niche compared to third-person shooter, first-person shooter, real-time with pause, RTS, etc., etc. Real-time is for a bigger audience. It just is. And you're only targeting the RPG turn-based guys. And there are a few JRPG turn-based games that are good, of course. But you're still saying goodbye to your original Baldur's Gate audience. The thing with turn-based logic is that everybody understands it. Yep, that's true. You have a turn. That's true. It dumbs it down. So people who can't handle real-time with pause would be easier or could understand a turn better. That's true. I'm not going to argue that. It's my turn. It's your turn. Yep. And we have experience with it. It worked for us with DOS. Yeah. So again, they're just trying to justify these actions saying, oh, well, we're a company who makes turn-based games, so obviously we're going to do that. It's like, yeah, no kidding. Your characters are the tools you'll use to solve a puzzle, and the puzzle is a lot more messy if everything is moving at the same time. That's part of the fun, if you consider it messy. I like having real-time actions, whether I was playing Warcraft back in the day or whether I was playing Planescape Torment or whatever. Even Baldur's Gate. That's part of the fun. But apparently messy is bad. To tackle one of the criticisms of the turn-based model, it's slow or laborious, which it extremely is. But you know what? So is real-time with pause. It could be just as slow. Well, not just as slow. It's obviously faster, but you can make it as slow as you like because you're pausing whenever you like. There has made some tweaks. Instead of characters going in order and getting an attack or an action, you can swap between them using attacks and bonus actions to create a combo. That's cool. Your party effectively moves simultaneously. Not exactly, but same idea. If you love the turn-based combat so much, you want it on even if you're out of battle. That's kind of ridiculous. That would get really slow. I mean, adventuring, you're like, okay, you move, then you move next to me. It's like, okay. But it's using the D&D rule set, of course. And you get no wish spell. It's not a big loss. And it's essentially, again, Divine Divinity Original Sin 3. That's what it feels like. And that's fine. That's the game they're going to make. That's the company that they know what they're doing. So it's still an alpha, so there's not much else we can talk about here. It's looking good. People who love the IP will probably enjoy the updated graphics engine, the camera movement, all the panning and the zooming. That's all beautiful stuff. And obviously, if they like turn-based combat, so they'll love it too. So great. That's my criticism of the alpha so far, and we'll see how it looks. Thanks for listening.